Jen from Fabbulous Paper Emporium. Boy, it has been a bit since I've done a video, so I do apologize for the big gap, but we've had a few things going on, so anyhow, but this is one of the projects that I was really trying to focus on getting done, and it's something that I don't think I've ever really seen anybody else do. So I don't have a fully completed one yet, but I can show you my test run. So I'm going to move that out of the way, and basically what I'll be making today is like my version of like a card organizer folio. So this is basically what the front looks like. Of course, there'll be designer paper and everything like that. We have a flap, which I'm still deciding on the closure. But the flap opens, and basically you have all of these beautiful little slots for your cards. And why there's so many is my original thought process was you can have, if you just do card fronts and then put them on your folded, like just fold the card as you need them, then, or fold a base and then attach the front and away you go, then this would work, as well as if you actually make full cards, so long as they're about an A2 size, then you're good to go. I put away all of my envelopes. Ouch. I had all kinds of things out earlier, and of course, I feel like now I've put them away. But I feel like I've got a few A2 cards here. At least I believe they're A2. I'm just measuring them really quickly. Yeah. So I've got a few here without the envelopes, but you could see that if I stick them in here, well, that's a lot for those. They'll hold about, each slot will hold about 2 A2 cards. This one, the top ones were really close to the top, so obviously that'll be changed a little bit. But this is basically how they'll fit in. And I had an amazing idea. I was showing this to a friend, had an amazing idea that you could, for a bunch of different occasions, so birthdays, anniversaries, Christmas, thinking if you get well soon, like there's a giant list of different card types that you could do and give this to somebody. So maybe each pocket has 2, maybe 3 cards with the envelopes, and for different occasions, and you could easily wrap this up and give it to somebody as a gift. So I thought that was just an amazing idea, and I'm so thrilled about it. So anyhow, whoops, as things go flying all over the place. Okay, so I will set these aside. Those are kind of things that I was playing with earlier, and so basically this is what it looks like. So it'll be made to kind of, you know, stand on a bookshelf or what have you. But anyhow, so this is the how-to video. So we're going to put together the pieces in this video, and then I'll do a part 2 for the designing, like the designer paper that I'm using. I've decided that I'm using it's a photo play paper, and it's called Our Friendship Through the Years, and I believe I've had it on here. I've got the ephemera, so you can get an idea of the color palette. So it's this kind of blue, worn blue kind of color, red, and, you know, I guess this kind of creamy color. That's the color palette we're working with, which is why I'm doing black as the base. So the base is, you do need 12 by 12. So I have used all 12 by 12 for all of the pages. So you'll need one piece, this is the piece, that is 12 by 12. And your 12 by 12 sheet is scored at 7 3/4 and then at 9 3/4. We have one piece that is this one is 10 3/4 by 12, and this one is scored at 7 3/4 and also 9 3/4. And then the last large piece is measuring 9 3/4 by 12, and this one is scored at 7 3/4 and 8 3/4. So those three pieces will create the outside. I'm using 65 pound because that is what I have access to. I couldn't find anything in my stash that was more than that, which was a color that I was going to be wanting to use. So I kind of stuck with that, and I feel that every single piece is going to have decorative paper on the front and back, so that's just going to add to the stability. The other thing that I did with an original template for this, or idea that I was working on, is to use some of that bookbinding tape for the spines, and I still may do that. I didn't do that in my last, test run, but I may still do that. The last thing that we are going to need, depending on the number of pockets, so this is like a trifold. So I have basically tried to put as many of those little pockets as possible. So I'm doing 12 of these pocket pieces, and these are 9 1/4 by 3 1/2. So the pockets are really super easy, but they're like these accordion pockets. So there will be some extra room for maybe some of the cards that maybe require a little bit more space. I did try putting a double Z fold in the pockets, and it works beautifully. So for the pocket pieces, so I said 12, 9 1/4 by 3 1/2. And I've already done all the scoring. I kind of got a little ahead of myself. So when you do your scoring, so for this piece, I'm just going to move this mat off to the side. So I personally, if I'm doing scoring, like there's a lot of score marks on either end, I like to do this score mark first. So I just lined it up here, scored it at 3 inches with the 3 1/2 at the top, and then I rotated it, and then you're going to score every 1/4 inch from 8 all the way to 9, right? And so that's going to give you 5 score marks, and that way you can do your little accordion fold, and that's going to be on either side. So you score at basically 1/4, 1/2, 3/4, 1, and then 1/4. Then you're going to move all the way to the 8 inch mark and score at 8, at 8 1/4, 8 1/2, 8 3/4, and then at 9. And that's how you end up with a piece that looks like that. So folding it is really not, I feel like I folded many so far. So the only thing I can mention with regards to the folding of the accordion is just to try and keep it in line as much as you possibly can. So I start off by doing my the long panel that's going to be at the bottom. Okay, and then I fold that back out again. So I'm going to start with the fold that is closest to the inside. So I fold it in, and then I'm keeping in mind, like I'm just trying to keep an eye on the top part. So I fold that down, and then my fingernails are right where that second fold is, to fold that back out. Okay, so I press that, and you can burnish between each. I do all my folding and then I give it one good burnish at the end. So this is really where things can kind of go a little bit sideways. I just, before I start pressing down, just make sure, because you can pull or push if you needed to, but just making sure that we're not kind of over coming too close this way. And then I'm also keeping the top part in check. All right, and then this last one can be a little bit more tricky, but we're doing well keeping all of that in line. And then I have my bone folder somewhere, and then I just like hold it on either side and just give that a couple of good passes, and we're ready to go. So we do the exact same thing with the other side, giving that a little press each and every time we pass. So this one's where I'm going to be really mindful. The first one, if you get the first fold, or well, actually it's really the third one, but the first top layer can really, if you fold it and it's gone off the rails, then the rest of your folds are going to be pretty much off. I'm not so worried if you see them angling inwards, because we've given ourselves quite a bit of space, both on the left and the right, for cards to come in and out, as well as their envelopes. So the finished size is 6 3/4. So an A2 card would fit on the longest length, I think is 5.5. So you have plenty of space in order to, like, if things, you know, are a bit, they're a bit longer because of the card you're making, it's not going to be the end of the world. Where you do need to make, you know, be mindful of is the height. Because if the height is taller than, especially at the top part, those top pockets, then they're going to extend past the top of the album. So I set that aside. All I did for all 12 pieces was I ran a piece of 1/8 double-sided tape on either side. I flipped it over, and then I ran a piece of 3/8 double-sided tape on the bottom in order to make the pocket. So just be careful, because when you're doing the score tape for this bottom one, if you put it down flat, it actually is on the face, not on the back. So just remember that. Okay, so I'm just going to take, I've done 11 of them. And at least I remember to stop and leave one so that I could show you how to fold. You also have to cut out, of course I forgot to mention that, but I figured you'd see, you do have to cut out the little areas on either corner where your score marks are. So I cut inwards all the way to the 8-inch score mark and all the way to the 1 1/4-inch score mark. And then I cut upwards to that 3-inch score mark. So these two corner pieces are cut away completely. I didn't bother mitering these bottom pieces. You can if you want to. I didn't do it on my original or the second test run, and I feel like they turned out pretty good. So what I do next is, if you're getting ready to put these in, then you can take these strips off completely. But what I do here, got to make sure that both of my pieces, I peel a bit of the double-sided, I peel a bit of the backing for the double-sided tape on either end, and then I fold inwards. And yeah, it's a bit of a, there's a bit of a step up there because we're folding over you know, all of about 1.5 inches of paper that's been kind of folded back and forth. But that's basically what the end envelope or little pocket will look like. And then I can just fold this back over to protect the tape that I don't want to expose right now. And whoops, I realized I totally forgot to put on the bottom piece of tape, which I'm going to do right now with my 3/8, and just flip that up. And that's going to stay down where it is for right now. So you can complete it all the way to this step and then set them aside. I have not done that part yet, but we're not going to be putting in the pockets right away anyways, because the designer paper is going to go on first, and that is going to be for part 2. It's not overly complicated, but I didn't want to do an insanely long video because, you know, I want to break it down into sections, manageable sections. Okay, so the piece that is 12 by 12, this is the piece that is going to be basically our back cover, our spine, and then the front flap that is going to be our closure. So we're going to take that piece with the score marks, which are going to have burnished on the right hand side, and then we are going to take the other piece that we have, which is this one is the one that was 10 3/4 by 12. So again, score marks on the right hand side. The 1 inch piece that you're going to have on the far right is what's going to attach the two pieces together. So I am going to get out my score tape. So I gotta put this on first before I start getting into anything else. So I'm putting it just to the inside of my score mark. There we go. And then I'm going to put another line of score tape, and this one's going to be just to the outside. I want this taped down nice and firmly, and then I will probably be adding glue as well to give me a little bit of wiggle room if I need it. Okay, so the score tape, the pieces, if you had wanted to put them on the inside, you would have had to put your score tape on this side, but I've done them both ways and I don't really have a preference, so I'm doing mine on the outside. They're going to be covered with designer paper anyways, so I'm not overly concerned with that. Okay, so I'm pulling both of these back. I am going to grab my glue. Oh, I was going to say it's been a while since I've used it. I'm just going to do some squigglies all the way down. And the nice thing about working on this score mat is even if I get glue on it, it cleans up beautifully. Okay, so for this part, the other part that I really like working with a score mat is I can lay things down and try to get things as, you know, even as possible. So to do this part, I'm actually going to go this way so that I can see it better. And I'm standing up. Okay, so you know what? I need like 5 hands for this. I'm just going to take some of this Post-it note tape that I have and just, you know, put this, you know, so that it is going to stay put. I'm taking the flat end, so score marks are over here. I'm taking the long piece or the wider piece, and I'm just going to put this so that it is in line with the score mark. I'm basically butting that up to the score mark. I'm gonna fit it on one side. Got my fingers just underneath it. Again, the glue is giving me some time to move that around, and then get that all stuck down. Come over to the back side, and if there were any, pieces of score tape, which I think I have on this side. So I'm going to take some scissors. But if you had any glue that seeped out onto the back, you could certainly clean that up at this point. I'm just going to go over that with my bone folder just to make sure that that is nice and secure. Perfect. Okay, the little bit of adhesive is kind of bothering me on this side. So I'm just going to I think it's gonna require maybe an X-Acto blade. Anyhow, okay, so right now we have this part. So if you had wanted to just do, you know, instead of doing the third piece and just wanted to leave it at here, well, you could very well do that and do maybe some of those box pockets instead of the accordion ones. That would work as well. That was one of the ideas that I had for this particular project. The only thing is you just have to be mindful that your box pockets couldn't pass the maximum depth would be 1 inch, but I probably would make it a little bit less than that, just because the 1 inch is going to have to be really super precise. So if you did it like 7/8, that would work probably really well, and that way they wouldn't crush when you folded it in half like this. But as it is, we're doing the trifold. So now we're going to add our third piece. I'm going to do the exact same thing to this little 1 inch tab here. So I'm going to move my base over for right now. I'm going to apply, okay, that didn't look like, I don't even know what tape I used. There we go. So I'm going to put my score tape on. I'm telling you. And then we're going to attach it exactly, whoops, I'm not quite as close as I would like to be. We're going to attach it exactly the same way as we did to the first and second pieces. Okay, so I've got my score tape. Still using the 3/8 of an inch, and that way I can get 2 strips on there nice. I'm going to add glue anyways. So doing a slightly narrower score tape is not going to be the end of the world. Okie dokie. So now I'm doing this piece. I'm going to rotate it again, grabbing my 2 little pieces of tape, whoops, to keep that in place. Now I grab so the piece that we just attached, which is this piece, is what's going to go on next. So again, as I rotate it, I'm just going to rotate so that I have the widest part here, and that's what we're attaching. So I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm coming just a hair towards me from the score mark, and then I'm going to press down. Take off my tape. I'll set that aside. Make sure that I have no glue. And there we have. Okay, so that is your first fold, second fold, and I know it looks kind of weird right now because there's really nothing keeping this page from you know, folding in on itself. But once we have all the pockets, then that will add some stability to where the pages fall. And of course, adding on our designer paper, our beautiful designer paper, is just going to add that much more stability. So that is all we're going to do for step 1, or for video 1, I should say. And for the second video, which will be coming up in a couple of days, we are going to be doing the cutting, the measurements, everything for the designer paper. I'll give you a bit of a sneak peek. I've cut it all out. Oh, you can kind of see it there. But, oops. This is going to be the paper for the spines, and this is the paper that I've chosen for the front cover. It's absolutely beautiful. It's one of my favorite collections, and yet I have yet to play with it. And I think what I'm also going to do is kind of coordinate some of the cards that are inside to match up with this, at least for this time. So that is it for today. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Hopefully you've found this useful and helpful in any way, shape, or form. If you have, give me a big old thumbs up. If not, that's okay. Thumbs down is totally fine. If you have any questions, comments, feedback, and you know, with regards to any part of this video, if you would leave it below, I read absolutely every single one of them, and I do appreciate your feedback. If you haven't already subscribed, hit that subscribe button. We are inching our way closer to 500, and as you well know, if you have followed me, you know that there will be a giveaway once we hit 500. So share with your friends if you haven't already, because we are really trying to get there, you know, as quickly as possible. If by the subscribe button, if you hit the bell, then you will be notified each and every time we post a new video, and we definitely try to get to that at least a few times a week. So follow us on Facebook if you haven't already, or on Instagram. We're on all of those socials right now, and we look forward to seeing you again. Hopefully you have an absolutely fabulous day and you're staying safe and well. Bye.